Hello and welcome to this Idiot Splaining bonus episode, and this week it is jam-packed. Not only are we going to be taking a look at the answers to our AI quiz, but also I've got some funny stories of AI gaffs. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Alright then, let's start with the funniest and most shocking AI fails of all time. This list actually came from lovetheidea.co.uk. I'll put the stuff in the description of the podcast. And yeah, these are pretty ridiculous stories, I'm not going to lie. So first up is Alexa. Now, I'm sorry if I have just accidentally turned the Alexa on, but this one needs a kind of a look at here. So, Alexa starts a party. The neighbours call the police. I feel like, yeah, this one is going to be haunting some people, I reckon. So, one device partied so hard that the police showed up. This was a resident from Hamburg in Germany who was out one night, and the Alexa randomly began playing loud music at 20 to 2 in the morning. After knocking on the door, and of course the resident was not in, the neighbours called the police and shut down the party. When the cops arrived, they broke down the front door, unplugged the Alexa, and then installed a new lock. I'm assuming this is outside of his awareness. I'm pretty sure it was, actually. He arrived home later that night, only to find his key didn't work anymore. He had to go to the police station, get new keys, and apparently it was a very expensive locksmithing bill. So, yeah, that one's gonna trigger some stuff. Another trigger is Alexa apparently purchasing doll houses. Here's your second story. The Alexa accidentally ordered a $170 dollhouse after a 6-year-old girl said about the products. And apparently cookies were also on this as well. After receiving the confirmation, her mother, Megan, immediately figured out what happened, and she donated the doll's house to a local hospital and added parental controls to the Alexa. But the story went on the news as well during the morning show, and Jim Patton, the news anchor, said, "I love the little girl saying, 'Alexa, order me a dollhouse.'" Next up, a robot passport checker, which I had no idea these existed, but we live in that world now. It rejected an Asian man's application because eyes are closed. Now, there are a couple of other stories on this where the facial recognition software just doesn't add up, or the software being accidentally racist. I'm not going to go through the massive amount of details because I want to keep this podcast PG-13. But essentially, the passport couldn't be validated, and it rejected the photo, and he had to contact the department in order to speak to a human. So, but it's out of the norm though. 20% of passport photos submitted are rejected due to software errors, according to a spokesperson for the department. Next up, some spicy stories, and apparently it's another kid sort of story. So when a toddler asked his family's Alexa to play his favourite song, Digger Digger, I've never heard of that song, by the way. Apparently the Alexa heard something else, and in response said, "You want to hear a station for adult themed stuff?" And apparently she just continued to say a number of naughty things, and it was caught on tape, fully enough. So there you are. Right, next up, a kid-friendly robot apparently goes crazy and injures a young person. So it's all about, like, children in this case. Like, we believe that children are our future, and robots not so much. So the robot was called Zhao Pang, translated to little fatty. It attacked a display booth and injured the young person. And after Zhao Pang repeatedly rammed into a booth and sent shards of glass flying around, the boy suffered cuts and was taken to hospital. Thankfully, damage was minimal, so it's fine. And a few stitches later, it was all good. Right, next up, robots judge a beauty contest and didn't select women with dark skin. Here's another sort of racism story. So again, I'm not going to go through the massive amount of details, but it's all about the algorithm. It didn't favor women with dark skin. 6,000 people from countries around the world submitted the photos. 44 winners were announced. Only one dark-skinned person was picked. Also, another one, which was Microsoft, by the way. Twitter's chatbot turned anti-feminist and pro-Hitler, apparently. I'm not going to go through the entire details, but yeah, it got weird back in 2016. And again, it was Microsoft having this silly thing happen. They've probably scrubbed it now from any kind of history that they know of. So let's not figure that one out. Next up, Google Brain turns low-res images into pixelated monsters. Of course, this is a podcast. You can go and check out the article and see these for yourself. But yeah, they do look ridiculous. And then finally, a robot fails to get into college. Twice. So this was all in Japan. This was for the University of Tokyo. The robot took the exam for national universities in 2015. Didn't score high enough. Made another attempt and scored too low again. So I guess robots just aren't that clever anymore. Or have never been clever. Right then, let's see if you were clever with our AI quiz. Now, in the AI episode, of course, we asked you to pick out the bits that were made by AI and left in. So, the first bit was, alright, let's start at the beginning, because that's a perfect place to start. The history of all now of AI, blah, 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 blah. That was all AI. The term artificial intelligence was coined at the Dartmouth conference in 1956. That was also AI. Hey, what if machines could think like us? That was also one. I thought that might have been a little bit of a sort of a trickier one. These early pioneers like John McCarthy and Martin Minsky, that was of course one. Their computers were about as smart as a toaster. Yeah, that one was a bit of a weird one. And I think I made a little adjustment there. I'm not sure. But that's what I've got on my list. Maybe. In 1997, it beat the world champion Garry Kasparov. I'm getting a little bit mixed up with this one. Kasparov. There you go. Also, in the 2000s, we saw the rise of more advanced algorithms and machine learning. Blah, 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 blah. Picture this. You've got a computer and you want it to perform a specific task. Blah, 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 blah. That one was written by AI. There are some sort of bigger chunks of AI ones, like it's like training a dog with treats. There you go. That whole part there was a bunch of AI jibber jabber. But the not in my case though, my dogs are evil, that was definitely me. Then from self-driving cars to smart home devices, blah 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 blah, that was AI. Like my new business venture, edible makeup, that wasn't AI, but I believe everything else was. Also, the listeners' questions were sort of marked up by AI as well. Not the questions themselves, but the answers. Some of those were also part of the AI algorithm. So well done if you got any of those right. And there you are. And of course, the outro, definitely not AI. Especially the plea about the British Podcast Awards. But if you do want to put this forward for the British Podcast Awards, please do. It's free to do. All you got to do is go to britishpodcastawards.com/voting and then search for the podcast Idiot Splaining. It will come up with my face, and I believe it'll be the only podcast that will actually pop up. And all you got to do is put in your name, your email, and then confirm. And then all you need to do is go to your email address and just confirm again for your vote. So that's all you got to do. Right then, before we get to the bloopers, next week's episode. And next week, it's all about fast food. Oh, yes. I'm going to be salivating throughout the entire episode. So if you've got your questions, line them up, please. rosshore.com/contact. Send me a message over on there. Also, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me absolutely everywhere at Rosshore. That's Ross and Hoare. So we'll be back next week. And for now, it's time for the bloopers. The term artificial intelligence was coined at the Dartmouth Conference in 1956. Imagine a bunch of science. The term artificial intelligence was coined at the Dartmouth Conference in Fast forward a few decades and AI started to get a little less toastier and did you know there is a chess-playing computer called Deep Blue? Well, in 1997, it beat the world champion, Garry Kasparov. Picture this, you've got a computer and you want it to perform a specific task, like recognizing pictures of cats. Now, you could try to write a bunch of rules, like, cats have priority ears. Priority ears? What? Instead, with machine learning, you feed the computer its latest cereal. A bunch of examples. Flavors include a variety. Machine learning can be broken down into three main types: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. Supervised and unsupervised are pretty much self-explanatory. Supervised is when I mentioned earlier. From self-driving cars to smart home devices that turn off your lights, lock your doors, and probably judge you but taste the blood. From self-driving cars to smart home devices that turn off your lights, lock your doors, and probably judge you taste the music, AI is working behind the scenes, making things faster, smarter, and sometimes creepier. Thank you, Facebook ads, for reminding me I was thinking about buying energy supplements. Imagine AI chiefs perfectly needing to do that line again. It's not chiefs, it's chefs. Imagine AI chefs creating perfect meals based on your dietary needs, AI lawyers who can read through legal documents faster than a speeding bullet, and AI teachers who can give personalized lessons to them. Should do that again. I nearly got there. Oh, excuse me. And who's responsible when an AI makes a mistake? These are all the questions. These are the kind of questions.